Yo, what's up, guys? Today we're looking at a video claiming the Wuthering Waves will undoubtedly and inevitably fail. I'll break it down and share my opinion. Without further ado, let's do it.
I don't think Wuthering Waves will be dead on arrival, but I think it will eventually fail, and that's due to a few recurring themes that have already happened with games before. Now, before I start, I'm not really going to be talking about anything pertaining to the game itself or the mechanics, etc.
Okay, I have to immediately stop this. So you're going to make a video about a game, a gacha game that will fail without actually addressing anything about the game at all or the mechanics or content within it. So just to preface, that's how this video is starting. All right, let's continue.
As it's just not something I am knowledgeable in because I do not care for playing the game. I know that sounds harsh, but well, I'll state why. Firstly, when it comes to Genshin Impact, I promise you, I'm no sympathizer. I really
Okay, so he has no interest in playing the game either. So he probably hasn't looked at much to do with this game at all. He also goes to claim that he's not a Genshin sympathizer, but I'm sure he's going to get more into that in a second. So let's go ahead and see what he's going to say next.
do not like this game, but I have to give credit where credit is due. Genshin Impact was the first of its kind, after all. Not only that, but it had the COVID buff and has a pretty big player base. This leads into the first reason why I think Wuthering Waves will eventually fail. When you try to make a game that rivals something of reference, it does not work out in the long run. Wuthering Waves will fail because it is trying to be like a new Genshin, and it won't work. The same way in how some new MMOs tried to be the new World of Warcraft.
Okay, I understand the comparison here. However, I think this is very uncharitable. I feel like from what we've seen so far, there are already things that Wuthering Waves is doing better than Genshin. And there are things that we have seen so far that allude to more things in the future also being better than Genshin. Um, I don't think it's trying to be Genshin at all. Obviously, we have like this trend now where gacha games are starting to try to do the open world RPG style thing, which is cool. I really like that. We have Azure Permilla coming out, and we also have that Dark Soulsy gacha game coming out. I can't remember what it's called. Um, I don't think having like a similar world to adventure in terms of like how you explore that world, that being like an open world type setting, I don't think that means it's necessarily copying Genshin. Also, we've seen the combat plays out quite differently, and it actually feels like a real game with combos tied to it. Um, so yeah, I feel like that's not a very charitable comparison, but let's go ahead and keep listening.
And it doesn't work. Even Final Fantasy XIV was initially trying to be like WoW, but they realized that if they just do their own thing, they will have more success. It's the same thing with Black Desert Online. Nothing can rival it in terms of its battle mechanics, and games that try fail. Tower of Fantasy is another example of another Genshin clone that, although wasn't dead on arrival, did eventually die pretty badly. The only thing that will kill Genshin is Genshin Impact itself, which it's already on the course to doing. Genshin Impact brought a lot of people into the gacha world, and it's become so big that when you think of gacha, one of the first names that will come to your mind is Genshin. In the same way, when you think of RPGs, you think of Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest.
I do wanna pause it again real quick and point out that he said the only thing that can kill Genshin is Genshin, which, by the way, he's right. Genshin is already killing itself. However, right? You have to understand that Genshin is falling apart because it is mistreating its players. They're not dropping out any content. There hasn't been any new in-game since the original in-game. There are many problems within Genshin that are not going to get fixed because Hoyoverse believes they don't have to fix them because they've already pigeonholed their players in such a manner that there's like nothing that the players can do about it. Or there is, you could just stop paying for things on the game. You could stop giving them money, and then they would have to eventually make changes, but they're not going to do that because they've already brainwashed the entire community into believing that this is the best they're going to get. However, when Wuthering Waves comes out, that is the perfect opportunity for these Genshin players to escape and get to a better game. Wuthering Waves is going to offer them so much more opportunity. So, besides Genshin being its own downfall, Wuthering Waves provides a safe place for those players to try to pick up a similar game and have a better time. But let's go ahead and keep listening.
Or the Tales series. Nintendo, with their huge lineup of popular games, Hoyoverse is on track to creating a similar vein and franchise, but within the gacha genre. It's a new golden standard to a new era of gacha gaming. It set a premise that a lot of newer gacha games are adopting, namely its wish system. Girls Frontline 2 has something similar to Genshin's, among other games, but you get the idea. I personally don't really have any interest in playing a game that has the same foundation as Genshin Impact because I think it's a boring dogshit game. It's much better to create a game.
Okay, so his reasoning for not wanting to play Wuthering Waves is that he thinks it's dog shit because Genshin is dog shit. So I think he's already coming from a very uncharitable mindset, and he is judging a game that he has no idea like what the game is about. He has no idea what the content is in the game. He doesn't even know what the world building is like. He doesn't know any of this because he's basing it all off of Genshin. So immediately his whole opinion is incredibly flawed because he's not even giving the game a chance.
Game from your own vision, and that's not to say you can't have inspirations or anything when designing a game, but your foundational gameplay can't be that similar either. Now, there will absolutely be people that don't mind the similarity for these kinds of games, which I actually do think is their target audience, are folks that like and love Genshin Impact. However, when you don't succeed in toppling something,
I would actually say this is wrong. I would say that the game is made for people who need to seek refuge from Genshin Impact, who need to have a better game to go to. I'm not saying that it's going to be the Genshin killer because, as you stated, and I agree with, only Genshin can kill itself. But it's sure not keeping itself alive. And Wuthering Waves is a really good alternative for what we've seen so far. I do not think this game is going to eventually dwindle down and die. Just because you're saying it wants to be a Genshin clone, which again, I don't agree on. I do not think it's trying to be a Genshin clone. I think it's much better than Genshin in many ways. But let's go.
You get crushed. I know it sounds like I am being unfair to this game, but I am just trying.
You are being unfair. Let's keep it a buck. You're being incredibly unfair, and you're not even hiding it.
To have a realistic outlook on it, given what has happened in gaming history as of recent. It'll probably have a good few months, but I don't think it'll last. And if it does, hey, I'll be the first to admit that I was wrong. It's not like I want this game to fail, because for what it's worth, I actually do think the character designs in Wuthering Waves are much better than Genshin's.
I actually think you do want the game to fail. This is just my personal opinion. I'm not saying this is how you actually feel, but this is how I think of you right now. I actually do think you want this game to fail. Because if you didn't, you wouldn't post a video not knowing anything about the game, admitting that you don't know anything about the game, admitting that you haven't seen the content, admitting that you have no desire to play it, and you're still making a video talking shit about it and saying that it's going to fail and that it's a guarantee fail because it's trying to be Genshin. And it wasn't until more than halfway through your video where you're like, I don't want the game to fail. I just, I'm talking all this shit because, I got to do that. That's the name of my video. Why Wuthering Waves will eventually fail. It's like, no, you wouldn't make this video without intent. I truly don't believe what you're saying here.
Especially in the main character department. Also, just let me glaze female MC for Wuthering Waves for a little bit, because goddamn, that design and appearance got me acting up a little bit type shit.
Okay, that's hurting my ears. We're gonna skip that. By the way, MC does not look bad in this game. I think MC looks good in Wuthering Waves, but it is not that good. It is not that good.
If you're going to create a game that is already an established genre, you really need to innovate. A good example of this, as I'm going to assume, mostly got.
They are innovating. If you took like 5 seconds to look at the gameplay, you'd see the combat is like very good and different from Genshin gameplay. Also, there's parry mechanics in this game, which is really, really cool.
Players will be watching this is Honkai Star Rail. There are hundreds upon hundreds of turn-based games, and while it is a heavily nuanced and saturated genre within role-playing games, it has things that a lot of other turn-based games didn't have due to its nature of being a gacha game as well. You get consistent new characters, new story added consistently, extra content, really likable characters.
A lot more content than Genshin. By the way, from the same company, I know they're different teams, but from the same company, Hoyoverse is literally proving if they wanted to make Genshin better and keep their player base, then they would do that by giving them incentive, like in-game content and stuff like that. We have 2 in-game content pieces in Honkai right now, and if I remember correctly, they're adding 2 more in the coming patches. So there's no excuse why they can't do that for Genshin. They already know the Genshin community is so pigeonholed into a bad spot. There's nothing that they could do about it. They have convinced themselves that Genshin is as good as it's going to get.
An interesting story to follow, and the list could go on. Now, this is where I could be wrong about Wuthering Waves, because I don't actually know what sorts of things are in the game completely.
Well, see, you can't say that, because that's the whole point of this video. The things that you're naming right now, such as bringing some sort of diversity to the gacha game sphere and uniqueness, like these are things that you would only know within the game, and the things within the game are the things that matter. Those are the things that will dictate whether a game will die or not. You can't literally sit here, we're at 5 minutes right now in your 7-minute video, talk about how the game would fail, admit several times that you don't know anything about the game, and then double down on it right now, saying that your opinion in this particular part of the video is fragile because you don't know anything about what's inside the game. Well, that breaks down your entire video because you don't know anything about the game.
This is just me giving my opinion off what I know from playing Genshin Impact. And similar to...
Okay, so he is a Genshin fanboy. He said he does not like Genshin, but he is a Genshin fanboy.
Wuthering Waves, Genshin players were really against Honkai Star.
I'm pretty sure Hoyoverse sent him. I'm pretty sure he is a Hoyoverse spy.
Rail. A lot of people did not think it would succeed and really disliked the fact that it was turn-based. But we look at it today and, well, I would say it's definitely one of the best gacha games easily out currently.
MiHoYo, not Hoyoverse.
Now, this could have the same effect as Honkai Star Rail, where people think it's going to fail, but then it actually succeeds. Currently, Wuthering Waves has millions of pre-registrations, but I don't really view this as a reliable metric, as a lot of people were not able to access closed beta testing like content creators and may just want to try the game out for a bit. On top of that, some players might just eventually drop the game because there are other games they deem more important, or they've already invested.
Sure. If we're talking about non-gacha games, I can definitely see that. There are a lot of good games coming out this year, or good games have already come out this year. If we're talking about gacha games specifically, there's really not that much in the way. I'm going to be honest with you. So if we're talking about gacha games, I'm pretty sure this is a good contender.
A lot into Genshin Impact already, and don't really want to do that with another game. Obviously, a whale is just going to whale, that goes without saying, but a vast majority of people do not have that kind of money. So, in turn, this circles back to people that are free to play or spend where they can. They could still play Wuthering Waves free to play, just to play it and have no expectations, but in the long run, I don't really see it panning out well for this game.
How do you figure? Because if we're talking about Genshin, right? Genshin came out some years ago. I'm pretty sure this is his 4th or 5th year. I can't exactly remember off the top of my head. Pretty sure this is 4th or 5th year. And look at Honkai. Honkai has been out for a year now. Their anniversary just passed, I'm pretty sure. And it's already doing significantly better. It's improved upon a lot of things, especially for free to play. I don't know if you know this, but I would say that Honkai Star Rail's free to play aspect is pretty fair. They've got enough content in the game, in-game content specifically, that a lot of units can be used for, and they're currently releasing more units, 5-star units and 4-star units that are good, and power creep is nowhere near as bad in this game. Power creep, like, almost doesn't exist. I mean, it does exist to some extent, right? But they've done a lot to go out of their way and keep units relevant. Like when Black Swan came out, that gave so much usefulness to so many characters. Now that we have Imaginary MC and Robin, other characters are about to get a lot more use. And with Wuthering Waves not even being out and it being part of this new gen wave of high quality gacha games, I'm pretty sure it's going to deliver. I mean, I can't say for certain, right? The game's not out. But if it's anything like it's what it's portrayed to be, this game is going to do really well. So I wouldn't carry such a negative expectation on this game.
So, what do you guys think will happen to this game? Do you think I'm being a negative Nancy? Or do you think Wuthering Waves will find success? Be sure to like, comment, subscribe.
I definitely think that you're being a little too negative. I think the game has a lot of opportunity, and I think the game is really gonna show its stuff. I really think the game is gonna do very well. I just think you need to give the game a chance. You gave Genshin a chance. I would like for you to give this game a chance, and maybe you'll have a different opinion if you do. But yeah, all right, guys, that's all I gotta say on this. I thought it was a very interesting video. I don't think he's a bad guy or anything. I'll leave his channel in the bottom of the description. I hope you guys like, comment, and subscribe if you really like me that much. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.